Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate, right? Be sure to join the Discord down in the description box below. But I'm going to play devil's advocate because I'm watching this. I'm only 10 minutes in, so I didn't get very far in before I wanted to say something. And Noelle even brought this up because I didn't even know. I watch Asian Boss, which is a YouTube channel. I remember when they first started off, and I know the whole story about how by how Asian Boss started and all of that. They took a risk and it paid off, and so now this is those two guys' job, right? These two guys created this, and now it has grown exponentially. I have well over 3 million subscribers, right? But Noelle was like, do you know who June Lovejoy is? I say, yeah, I've heard of them. And if you don't know, June Lovejoy is an adult performer who's from the US. She's white, and she works in Japan. So she does Japanese adult movies there. That's the most direct yet safe way to say it without YouTube having a fit. And I said, yeah. So today I was scrolling through something and I see another thing talking about June Lovejoy. And then I'm like, dang, what is this? And saying like, she's the biggest well-known adult performer, American performer in Japan. All right, I gotta get rid of my gum, sorry. This cinnamon gum sometimes gets a little strong. Hold on one second. Okay, check to see if I had any packages. And so I was curious, and I said to Noelle, I sent her a text, I'm like, how did you find out about this June Lovejoy again? And so she's like, well, Asian Boss did a story on her. I was like, okay, so let me go check it out. So I'm watching it, and I'll post a link down below of this interview. And nothing wrong with the interview at all. Nothing wrong with it. However, I will point something out that people won't like, but these are facts. These are pure facts. You have a white female, American, who's in a most predominantly homogenous country, Japan, where there are Japanese male performers who work with her consistently. Like that's all that she does, right? And when you look through the comments, you don't see one negative comment whatsoever. I mean, I scrolled through a lot. There may be some there that I missed, but just scrolling through, people talk about her honesty, and they talk about, oh, she's such an inspiration, and oh, it must be cool to be able to know different languages, and you can work in different industries, and you have all this positive stuff. And not only this, the interviewer is a Japanese female. There's a lot of kiki and ha-ha and all this, which is cool. But then I said, how come there's no white supremacist comments in the comment section? How come there are no white dudes talking trash about her? Because she's predominantly, exclusively working with Japanese men. I think there may be Japanese women too. I don't know. Right? I don't know. But how come you don't see any of those comments? And you don't hear Asian women talking negative about her. If anything, you have them all down in the comment section and cheering and clapping and all this stuff. Of course, you have a lot of Asian dudes, some I assume maybe Japanese, that are happy about that. Now remember, keep that in mind. I did a video of a Japanese chick who likes black dudes, and what did I get? I got a Japanese guy saying that he thought it was disgusting. He doesn't have, and there was black dudes challenging him, saying, well, what about whenever it's the other way around, and there's like a Japanese guy with somebody else. He said he didn't care about that. That was okay. But he didn't like it the other way around. What I find very interesting is I wonder if June Lovejoy, if she went to Nigeria and worked in the adult film industry there, what would the comments look like? I mean, would there be comments down below that are all positive and nice? Would there be a Nigerian female reporter doing the interview? Maybe. Maybe. I think so. Because there's some open-minded people with respect to that. But would the comment section look as nice and as clean as it was? I couldn't find any negative comments. This is over an hour and 18-minute interview. Very long interview for what Asian Boss does. And I'm not criticizing anybody. Right? I'm not criticizing Asian Boss. I'm not criticizing the Japanese. I'm not criticizing June Lovejoy. I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm just bringing up questions. People are saying, man, this new interviewer is really nice and polite and friendly. She seems super sweet and nice. June is so open and comfortable. You don't hear anything about, I like her positivity. This was a good interview. There's so many nice things that were said. So many. But again, and you can't use American adult performers that do interviews because they don't strictly just stick with one. It's not like if you had a white chick that she would strictly work with only black dudes, they wouldn't be able to eat. Right? They have to do everybody. But you do have black female performers and Asian female performers and white female performers in the U.S. that never have worked with black dudes and Hispanic. You have the whole rainbow that has never worked with a black dude in the industry. But again, I can't use them because people will say, okay, whatever. Let's go for equalness here. Japan is mostly homogenous, right? Nigeria is mostly homogenous. Actually, it has the largest concentration of black people in one country than any other place in the world, right? And they do have an adult film industry. So let's use it equal to equal. Let's say that instead of Japan, June Lovejoy went to Nigeria and she got into the industry there, which we know that would never happen. But let's just say that she did do that. I'm curious as to what the comments would look like. First off, I would be curious if they ever would have done an interview. If there's some sort of a Asian Boss equivalent, if they would have done an interview like, whoa, this is great. Like, it's wonderful that, you are here and you're in the industry, and how'd you get into the industry? And, and you even have people in here saying, I hope there's no negative comments because she's such a really nice person. I'm just asking questions. Do you think that it would be the exact same if she would have, and even people of color here would have something negative to say? Not only would there be people probably in Nigeria and other places talking negative because they would be like, oh, she's coming over here. You'd hear all the stereotypes. I'm curious, would we hear all the stereotypes? Would she be called a mud shark? Would she be, June Lovejoy is a little bit thicker, right, than most of the Japanese. And here she would be average size. People would be making fun of her weight and what she looks like and all of this. She has a little bit of a lisp. People would talk about that. Now, me personally, I find nothing wrong with the lady. I think that she looks totally fine. I think she's attractive, all that. Personally, there's nothing in terms of her that's the question. My question would be, what would the comments and how would people view it if she went to some place, or any white chick, not just her, but any white chick or anybody else that went purposefully over to Nigeria. Now, of course, this was not her mission. Her mission was to be a translator. I get that. But somehow she ended up, and I don't know the full story because I stopped it right here. I had to immediately see after I went through the comments, because I typically do that. I watch YouTube videos and I scroll through the comments just to see what people are saying. And I'm not seeing a negative, and I'm still scrolling. Nothing. This was really interesting. Most of the females, and what I find so ironic is Japanese females saying that they give her a high five. This is someone who's a Japanese female, you can tell by the last name, who said, one of the reasons why I love Asian Boss. Someone says, men of culture, we meet again. Sounds like a Hispanic guy. Isn't it unique how globally the world has nothing wrong? There's nothing wrong if a white chick is with any race of guy, except for if it's a black dude. If it was a black guy, you would not have this many positive comments. If she went to a mostly black country and did this, there would be a lot of people talking a lot of nasty, negative stuff. And yet people want to deny that racism exists. It's just funny. Even here, when people say that racism doesn't exist and this, that, and the other, those are people immediately, if someone thinks that way, immediately is someone who I stay far, far away from. Because if you live in this country, you know for a fact that racism does exist. And if you're one of those people that deny it, then you are exactly the architect of the bigotry, because you're trying to keep it going. The best way to keep something going is to deny it. Right? I have some rats out there that's by the chicken pen. You remember I talked about I had tree rats and stuff like that? And so I've been putting out bait and different things to scare them off and to keep them away. But if I basically just turned a blind eye like a lot of people do in terms of racism against black people and say, it doesn't exist, and say that doesn't exist, not only would all the food from the chickens be gone, but so would their eggs and everything else, because the rats would take over and eventually be in the house because there would be so many of them. It's turning a blind eye to something that you know for a fact exists, but you're too scared to talk about it because of the simple fact that you're uncomfortable. And what I find interesting here is the fact that people were more annoyed by the sounds of the train going by, because Japan, very modern country. Unlike here, they have trains going everywhere, constantly. Like every half a minute you hear a subway train going by, right? It's one of the reasons why I love Japan. But people were talking about how that was more distracting and annoying than anything else. I'm puzzled. Now, I'm not saying that she may not have had her bit of anger and hate, but when you look at adult performers here in the US, read all of the negative comments that people say about them, especially if they have been in scenes with black dudes. You don't hear it so much with people like Alexis Texas, but you definitely hear it when it comes to someone like Elisa Ann. I'm just asking questions. Why is that? Now, obviously, I know the answer, but I'm just curious as to why do you think that is? Why is it that someone who goes completely to a completely different culture and no one says anything? You don't hear comments. Again, if she was in a black country, you hear comments like AIDS. You hear comments, she probably has Ebola. We don't want her back. She's a mud shark. She's got daddy issues. I never heard any of those comments. There's no daddy issues here. There's no nothing. We love June. She's everywhere these days. So happy for her. That's from a female, a Japanese female. June is the GOAT and seems like a dope person. It's funny. It's sad, to be honest with you. And I'm not saying, someone says, thank you, this one person, I almost mentioned their name. Lots of hypocrites on here. Boom. I'm going to actually give that person a thumbs up on the thing. Lots of hypocrites here. Lots of hypocrites. Because, again, if this was different, and she was in, again, if June went to the Philippines, or if she went to China, Or if she went to El Salvador or Mexico or Egypt, she would be revered. Afghanistan, she would be revered and be like, oh my God, this is wonderful. But if she went, or even Egypt, that's okay. But if she went to some place where people are dark, a little too dark, and we know for a fact that they're black, then the comments, would they still be the same? I'm just asking. Anyhow, this type of thing is the reason why you have a lot of people. Because there was another channel I saw where they were talking about stereotypes that Asian people hate and that black people hate, and they had an Asian chick, she was Korean, and a black dude from America on there, and she went first, and all these different stereotype questions, and she was answering them. And then when they got to him, it was, can all black people play sports? Because for some reason, a lot of Koreans think that. Or I think another one was, can all black people either dance or sing or something like that? I can't remember. And he was like, he can sing and dance, but he can't do the other thing. And they were like, oh, see. They were like still saying, well, is that stereotype true? So over here on one side, they're like, none of these stereotypes are true, and we get annoyed with it. But over here, when he's like, yeah, we get annoyed too by some of the stupidity that is out there. But the girl and the person behind the camera, which I think was a female, were like, but isn't this kind of? And it's like, it's not. And he did say, that people always think that either you're a good guy or you are a gangster and a thug. I sat here and I'm like, thank you. And they were like, oh no, that's not right, and he's like, the good thing is Netflix has actually showed people, because unfortunately a lot of people, their only interaction with black folks is through the movies. And we're talking about people outside the US. So the only time they really get to know something is what they see. And so other movies that are out there have shown, or you have people that will ask, are you from Africa? A lot of people ask that. But then they said they get annoyed when people assume that they're Chinese or something else, right? I guess I bring that up because no one really likes the stereotype, but yet people place that onto other people. It's just funny how people don't like the stereotype, but yet they place it on other people. And I just find this particular video very hypocritical, not only in terms of Asian Boss, but I think in terms of the people who are in the comments and the fact that she is able to cross over in Japan and there's no negative stuff. Now, with that said, there are black male performers who work in Japan also from America. And I'd be curious if Asian Boss would do an interview with them, but that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You see what I'm saying? That's why I said there's a lot of, that person who's saying there's a lot of hypocrites on here, I agree with that, because and there's at least 2 or 3 black male performers who live in, I don't know if they live in Japan. I don't know if June Lovejoy lives in Japan. I don't know. But there are 3 at least that are exclusively there, and you're never going to see an interview done with them. Never. And if you did, I wonder what the comment section would look like. I'd be curious. Very curious. But anyhow, tell me what you think. Make sure you join the Discord down in the description box below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.